Welcome back, wolves. Yes, you. The ones they underestimated. The ones they mocked in whispers and ridiculed with laughter that never quite reached your ears. You are the ghosts in the room they never knew were watching. You are the architects of silence. You've sat through storms and swallowed fire, yet never once screamed for help. You were there every single time they spoke too loudly, flaunted too quickly, and collapsed too suddenly. You were watching, quiet, still, knowing. This isn't a speech for the weak. This isn't a moment for applause or performance. This is for the shadow bearers, the silent killers of mediocrity. The disciplined ones who never needed validation, who never begged for spotlight, who didn't fall into the trap of proving themselves to anyone not worthy of their time. You are the soldiers of stillness, and now it's time you remember who the hell you are. Because while they exposed themselves, you built something, and you built it silently. There were days when the world screamed in noise, everyone speaking, boasting, pointing fingers, exposing thoughts like skin under stadium lights. They talked and talked and talked, and you listened, you endured, you smiled when you should have snapped, you applauded when you should have walked away, but you weren't weak, number. You were waiting. There's a violence in silence they will never understand. There's a rage in restraint that could level cities. You were not quiet because you lacked the words. You were quiet because your actions speak a language so sharp, it cuts deeper than any statement ever could. They never understood that. They still don't, because they thought silence meant surrender. They thought your lack of noise meant absence. But you weren't absent. You were building. Brick by uncelebrated brick, you were creating something no camera could capture and no hand could replicate. While they danced for digital applause, you worked behind closed doors with no one watching, no one clapping, no one even asking if you were okay. You weren't okay, but you were focused. That's more dangerous. You watched them expose themselves for likes, for praise, for validation. You watched them perform their struggles for attention, turn their traumas into trends, broadcast pain like it was part of some sick brand strategy. You didn't speak, you didn't mock, you simply noticed, because the strongest ones never have to shout. They just show up when it counts. You didn't speak when they claimed greatness too early. You didn't correct them when they called themselves kings without earning the crown. You didn't interfere when they built castles out of attention instead of foundation. You didn't speak, not because you couldn't, but because you knew the truth always reveals itself in time. And it has. They exposed themselves. Every lie, every weakness, every crack in their confidence, every shortcut they took, every excuse they crafted like art. You saw it all. You watched it unfold. Not with glee, but with calculation, because you knew this world does not belong to the loudest. It belongs to the last one standing. And you're still standing. You are the quiet force that cannot be bought. You're the storm no one tracks until it's too late. While they counted followers, you counted failures. While they celebrated small wins like finish lines, you took every loss as fuel. While they danced for dopamine, you drowned in discipline. You didn't post your process, you lived it. You didn't talk about the sacrifices, you bled for them, and still, you didn't speak. You let them think you were behind. You let them assume you were average. You wore invisibility like armor. You gave them the illusion of distance while you were always in reach. That's the genius of silence. That's the power of a builder. Because real greatness isn't revealed. It's unleashed. And now, you're not rising from the shadows. You are the shadows. They will feel your presence before they see your face. And when they ask how you did it, you'll just smile. Because there's nothing louder than results. There's nothing more brutal then a comeback they never saw coming. You were never behind. You were preparing. They exposed themselves, and you exposed nothing. They screamed for attention, and you earned respect. They chased love from strangers, and you crafted legacy from scars. They tried to show the world they were strong, and you became strength itself. This world will always reward the loud first, but it will always remember the relentless last. That's what you are. Relentless. And you're not done. You're just now stepping into the light they forgot even existed. The light of earned pride. The light of silent growth. The light of those who didn't need to speak to be remembered. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about bitterness. This is about balance. They took their turn. Now it's yours. But the difference? You're not here to expose yourself. You're here to execute. You're here to build something so real, so untouchable, that it stands long after the noise fades. You're not here for validation. You're here for domination, but not the kind they flaunt, the kind they fear. Because true power moves in silence. True power doesn't need to announce its arrival. True power is felt, and you've been felt. Even when you were silent, they felt you. They ignored you out of fear. They mocked you because they couldn't understand you. They avoided you because deep down, they knew you were different. You weren't playing the same game. You were building a new one. And now they have no choice but to play by your rules. This is the part of the story they'll never talk about. The parts they'll edit out. The years of quiet obsession. The mornings no one clapped for. The nights no one saw. The mistakes you buried under discipline. The rage you turned into results. The pain you didn't post. The loss you didn't dramatize. That's your foundation. While they were exposing themselves for attention, you were building character. While they were seeking sympathy, you were training for war. While they were pretending to be powerful, you were becoming dangerous. This is not a moment, it's a reckoning. Because they forgot one rule. The quiet ones remember everything, and you did. You remembered who left when you were down. You remembered who laughed too loud. You remembered who doubted, who whispered, who watched you fail and enjoyed it. You remembered all of it, and you didn't get bitter. You got better. You used it all, every word, every wound, every betrayal, as bricks, as fuel, as fire. And that fire is burning now. You didn't show them your pain. You showed them your patience, and that's more terrifying than any scream. You showed them what it looks like to wait, not because you have no power, but because you are choosing when to use it. That's not weakness, that's control. And now, it's time. You don't have to shout. You don't have to prove. You are the proof. You are the work. You are the silence. You are the storm. And when you arrive, you won't ask for permission. You'll take what's yours, quietly. So go. Continue to build. Continue to stay dangerous. Continue to move like a ghost with a blueprint. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You owe yourself everything. Keep showing up. Keep working in silence. And when it's time to speak, let your results scream for you. You watched silently while they exposed themselves. Now, let them watch you. Silently. Unshakable. Unapologetic. Unstoppable. And when they ask how, just say, I built something silently. I built something silently. And now it speaks for itself. You see, alphas, the world wasn't built by the loud. It was built by those who endured. It wasn't built by those who posted their pain. It was built by those who processed it in the dark. You are that breed. You are the remnants of a dying era, when strength meant silence, when integrity meant not needing applause, when the grind was for the mission, not for the camera. You, alphas, are not just individuals. You're a force, a movement that walks like thunder but speaks like ice. You've walked through hell, but you never lit a match to tell the world. You bled, but you never broadcasted your wounds. You hurt, but you healed with your fists clenched around vision, not pity. And now, they're going to see what happens when the quiet ones strike back. Let them choke on their own noise, Alphas. Let them bury themselves in the attention they crave, in the lies they told, in the image they sold to survive. Because the truth, it doesn't need to be sold. It just stands, and that's what you are now. You are the standing proof that while they exposed themselves, you evolved. You weren't just building something silently, Alphas. You were becoming something deadly. They saw the version of you that was unfinished, and they thought that was the end. They didn't understand that what they saw was the first sketch, not the final form. You were only beginning. But they laughed like you had already failed. That's the ignorance of the loud. They believe the present is permanent. But you knew better. You were sharpening your soul in silence, and now you're untouchable. Now you carry scars like armor. Your pain is precision. Your silence is not just strategy, it's superiority. You've studied every room you walked into. You've read every face. You felt every fake handshake. You've logged every moment someone called you not enough or too late. And you remember it all, don't you, Alphas? Because memory is your weapon. And now it's loaded. You didn't beg to be seen. You became undeniable. You didn't demand a seat at their table. You built your own kingdom, brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. While they threw parties, you stacked pain into power. While they exposed desperation, you mastered the art of control. And now, they don't even realize what's coming. That's the beauty of silence. It always shows up too late for them to stop it. Now, it's your time, Alphas. Not to talk, not to flex, not to shout, but to execute. Ruthlessly, relentlessly, repeatedly. You're not here for the same prize they chase. You're not here for likes, applause, or digital clout. You're here for something deeper, something permanent. You're here to leave a mark that doesn't fade when the spotlight moves on. Because while they exposed themselves, you were creating legacy. They were noise. You were the echo, and echoes live longer than sound. Alphas, understand this. You were never overlooked. You were underestimated, and that is a gift, because while they looked away, you trained. While they slept, you studied. While they showed off, you shut up and sacrificed. They got soft, trying to look strong. You got strong by staying silent. You are the ones who do not ask to be fed. You hunt. You do not ask to be invited. You own. You do not complain about the odds. You break the game. And when the world finally looks your way, stunned, shaken, and late, all you will do is nod, because Alphas don't scream their arrival. They arrive in silence and let the results roar. Let this be your creed from this day forward. You watched silently while they exposed themselves. And now they will watch while you rise, not with noise, not with gimmicks, not with cries for validation, but with an undeniable, unshakable, unbreakable presence. You are the ghost that turned into a giant, the whisper that became war, the quiet one who never needed a stage, just a reason. And now you have every reason. So go, Alphas. Keep building in silence. Keep winning in shadows. Keep preparing for the moment when they look around and realize you were never gone. You were never behind. You were never weak. You were just waiting. Because that's what real Alphas do. They observe, they build, they strike. And when they strike, there are no warnings, no speeches, no explanations, only silence, and results. Now, they're looking confused, aren't they? Now, they're wondering when it happened, when you went from silent to sovereign, when you stopped reacting and started rewriting the script. But the truth is, there wasn't a moment, there wasn't a switch, there was only the grind. There was only the discipline when no one clapped. There were only the nights you didn't sleep, the mornings you didn't quit, the days you dragged yourself forward with a fire no one could see. That's what changed. You. You didn't rise because they doubted you. You rose because you knew they were never supposed to believe in you. That wasn't their job. It was never their responsibility to support you, to understand your pain, to validate your vision. You were born for more, and that more doesn't come with comfort or confirmation. It comes from suffering in silence and turning that silence into steel. What they thought was weakness was actually wiring. What they mistook for hesitation was calculation. You weren't scared. You were stalking your moment. Because not everything needs to be announced. Not every fight needs noise. The most dangerous storms don't give a forecast. They just arrive. And you've arrived. They don't deserve an explanation. They deserve to sit in the silence they left you in and watch you become everything they said you couldn't. That's the reckoning. That's the cold truth of the game. You watched, you waited, and now you move. Quietly, aggressively, without apologies. Because you don't owe the past anything. You buried it, burned it, and built your empire from the ashes. This is where the roles reverse, where they panic and you proceed, where they tremble in the spotlight and you stand still in the storm. Why? Because you've already been through worse. You've already faced the dark. You've already sat alone with failure pressing on your chest, and you didn't tap out. You trained through it. You're not afraid of pressure. You became pressure. Now they want to understand you. Now they want to decode your silence, but it's too late for understanding. Too late for curiosity. They should have cared when you were crawling, not when you started running. They should have asked when you were bleeding, not now that you're building. But silence doesn't forget, and neither do you. Let them scroll. Let them perform. Let them expose more of themselves with every desperate post, every manufactured emotion, every recycled quote. You're not watching them anymore. You're past that. You're done observing. Now you're executing, not with rage, with precision, with focus, with control. Because that's what silence taught you, how to channel, how to wait, how to strike once and never miss. They didn't know who you were, but you did. You always did. That's what makes this moment sacred. You didn't become powerful because they believed in you. You became powerful because you believed in yourself when no one else would. You weren't looking for motivation. You became your own, and now there's no going back. Your silence wasn't empty. It was full of decisions. Every minute they ignored you, you were growing. Every day they laughed, you were loading. Every moment they overlooked you, you were becoming inevitable. And now, the outcome is already written. It's too late for them to compete with what they can't even comprehend. You built something silently, and what you built can't be undone. This is what real strength looks like. Not loud, not shiny, not hungry for praise. Just solid, quiet, relentless. Built from scars, not smiles. Made of grit, not gimmicks. You don't move like them. You move like someone who's seen too much to ever settle, who's been through too much to ever break, who's lost too much to care what anyone thinks. You know what it's like to be at the bottom, and that's why you'll never be there again. Because once you rise from silence, you never go back to begging. This version of you doesn't ask, this version acts, and now, all that matters is the next move. Because now they see you. They see the shift in your eyes, the calm in your steps, the gravity around your presence. They feel it even if they won't say it out loud. Something's different. Something's changed. But they'll never understand it because they didn't earn the right to. They didn't live your silence. They didn't feel your pain. They didn't build your foundation. You did. So no, you don't owe them grace. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them clarity. All you owe is results, and the most devastating results are always delivered without warning. You've said enough. You've waited long enough. You've bled quietly, trained relentlessly, endured endlessly. And now, your silence speaks louder than their screams. Keep building. Keep growing. Keep dominating in a way that needs no explanation. And when they finally ask what changed, smile. Say nothing. Because by then, your silence will have already spoken everything. So now here we are, at the edge of everything they said you'd never reach, at the peak of what they believed you weren't capable of climbing, standing silently, undeniably, in a place they never thought you'd survive long enough to see. And you didn't get here by luck. You didn't stumble into greatness. You didn't trick the system or fake your way forward. You earned this, alone, in silence. Through every ignored moment, every private breakdown, every second you could have quit but didn't. You built something quietly, so real, so solid, so unshakable, that now it doesn't even need to speak. It just is. Let them wonder. Let them ask. Let them write their little theories, whisper in corners, scroll through your moves trying to figure it out. They won't. They can't. Because this path, it wasn't made for spectators. It was carved by scars, not shortcuts. They exposed themselves for attention. You exposed no one. You let time do that. And now it has. The ones who laughed are quiet now. The ones who bragged are broken now. The ones who raced ahead are burned out now. But you're still rising. Because this wasn't about being seen. It was about becoming undeniable. So walk like you own the silence. Move like you are the storm. Never explain. Never chase. Never bow. They had their moment. Now it's your era. The silent one. The disciplined one. The one who watched patiently, built relentlessly, and now rules quietly. Let the world feel your presence without ever hearing your voice. Because those who build in silence, they own everything when the noise is gone. Welcome to your throne. You didn't ask for it. You became it. And now, let them watch in silence.